I did not vote for Erik Karlsson for the Norris. He was not my first vote.
Who'd you vote for?
I voted for Adam Fox.
Yeah.
And I had
and why is that?
And I had Miro Heiskanen in second.
Well, you're one of the few smart guys if you had Miro Heiskanen that high, because he doesn't get any credit for anything, which is amazing.
And I almost had him first, but when I watch games, I look for a number of different things, and one of them is, what does the defenseman do with the puck when he gets it? Like, where's the first pass going? And how does it work from there? And who makes the best first pass out of their zone? And who makes the intelligent pass in the offensive zone, or the pass that gets the person into the zone? And every time I watch the Rangers play, maybe I saw him on the nights that he was at his best, but every time I watched the Rangers play, Adam Fox was the kind of guy that I love the way he plays the game, and I love the way he moves the puck, and I love the way I think defense is very much a thinking position. And if you don't think it properly, and if you don't think it well, then you can accumulate points and not necessarily help your team while doing so. Whereas, Bergeron may be the best example in hockey history of a guy whose point totals weren't that high and was a huge impact player. And I think on defense, it matters even more. How do you think the game? And that's why I had Fox where I had him, and that's why I had Heiskanen where I had him.
So I'm curious, though, that you didn't think Karlsson was as good as Adam Fox then? I mean,
I thought offensively he was better than everyone.
Okay.
But the position, you're voting for the best defenseman in the NHL. And if you're on the ice for the most goals against, then that tells me
But he played on a really bad team, Steve. Really bad team.
I used to go out and play shinny on Thursday afternoons. And there's always a guy there that had the puck all the time. And he'd score, then he'd get scored on, then he'd score, and he'd get scored on. And if you choose to play that kind of game, kind of a reckless game, really, it's fun to play, and you're going to accumulate all kinds of points. But I want to know how much he helped them when they were up by a goal late in games. And he didn't kill penalties, by the way, which I always think is a must for a Norris Trophy candidate.
We spent 15 years together, Steve, trying to prove his point. I never heard him reference his shinny career.
No, there were. Yeah, listen, it's the magic of the podcast, Dave. It happens.
He's really stretching. And to go back in time when we all remember that at that midway point of the season, you used to vote for trophies, right? At the halfway point of this year, maybe 3/4, I just said Josh Morrissey was the best defenseman in the NHL. So take your shinny proof and do with it what you want.
Well, and I tell you what, I'm one of those guys, and maybe I ended up doing a lot more Dallas games last year than I should have, but and over the last 3 or 4 years, I've watched Heiskanen do so many good things for the Stars. I just don't think he gets enough credit as one of the top guys in this league, and I just don't think Dallas gets seen enough in lots of markets, Steve.
You've hit on a flaw of the voting process, and the flaw is we all watch the teams that we watch. So if we're in a city, we tend to watch the home team more than any other team. And then it's like, who else do you watch beside that? Well, I pick and choose the 4 or 5 teams I watch more than other teams. And so you get a real sense about those teams. And so at the end of the year, when you have to vote, and I'll use myself as an example, I don't watch enough of the Winnipeg Jets. So I didn't have a great sense of how great a season, despite everyone telling me how great a season Josh Morrissey was having, I didn't have the sense of it personally because I hadn't seen enough of it. And I guess that's
he had a great 60 games.
What?
That's what
he had Josh Morrissey had a great 60 games. He really did.
And don't, Steve, you weren't popular in Winnipeg anymore, so don't.
No, I never have been.
Don't worry about it.
Could you name the city? Name the city you were popular in?
Calgary.
We're gonna have a poll. We're gonna have a poll of our Calgary listeners.
I'm big in Thornhill. There you go.
Speaking of teams that we watch a lot, And John, don't accuse me of taking this in any particular direction that you hadn't intended. But we haven't mentioned the Leafs yet.
Well, no, I was going to get. Well, first of all, before we do that, give me a team or two that, if not Pittsburgh, then where for Karlsson?
I think Carolina.
Yeah.
I think Carolina's got, they're a gambling kind of a team, and they know they were close, and they know they didn't get there because their offense wasn't good enough, and because too many of their good offensive players were injured.
Yeah.
And so now it's I think they're knocking on the door, and would he be the guy that puts them over the hump?
Yeah.
This is what I don't understand about Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's not knocking on any doors.
Actually, with your job description, with your description of a team that has lots of space and is going in the right direction, I could only think of the Detroit Red Wings, but I'm not sure Steve Yzerman and Mike Greer can come to some sort of agreement, because Erik Karlsson with Mo Seider and that young group of Swedish players in Detroit might be something special to watch.
Well, Carolina just spent a lot of money on Sebastian Aho, so whether that means anything.
Well, but I mean, but did they really, when you consider how much money he was already making?
Well, they now have Aho, Svechnikov, and Kotkaniemi, or however you pronounce it, under contract for $22 million a year. In the NHL today, that's pretty good business.
Well, for them, two of those three is pretty good business.
Yeah. I'm not sure that
the guy you can't pronounce.
Kotkaniemi.
He's
getting better.
Yeah, but I'm not putting him in the big three, though. I'm sorry.
Here's how you get better pronouncing his name: Kotkaniemi.
Oh, Kotkaniemi. Okay, I thank you, Dave.
Anyway,
See, this is Steve. This is what used to happen for 15 or 16 years. 25 minutes before the game, as we open all the microphones, and then Dave goes through every team, every player on both teams, and then Bob Cole disagrees with him. So that's what would happen.
If Don Cherry had been there, he would have intentionally mispronounced it.
I'll do it again then. It's Nylander, not Nylander.
Wow, come on.
Where you going? Where you going?
Okay, so
we're the ball.
Now we're on the Maple Leafs, as Dave forced the conversation to get there. No surprise on Matt Murray going on LTIR?
No surprise, but some of this just smells to me. And it smells to me of manipulation of the rules, and exactly how does everybody fit into this. I have not heard a word. I don't know if you guys have. I've not heard a word yet from Matt Murray. I've not heard a word yet from his representative. I have not heard anyone say that Matt Murray is injured and won't be able to play next year, even though now he's been put on the LTIR and sent to what they used to call Robidas Island. It's a great move for the Leafs because they get rid of a problem at really no cost to them. But if I was the insurance carrier for the NHL, this is one of those ones that I might investigate. How hurt is Matt Murray? How was he able physically to say, I'm ready to play in the playoffs when they dressed Joseph Woll ahead of him? He was ready, he said, to play. What happened between April and now so that he cannot play next season?
It's LTIR, Long Toronto Injured Reserve. They invented it.
Well, no, Tampa did.
Well,
lots of teams
perfected it.
Yeah,
lots of teams use it, but and sometimes,
which is why you're. I assume you're not hearing other teams squawk about it, because they may need it at some point.
Well, they have Jake Muzzin on LTIR. Jake Muzzin probably will never play another NHL game. Right. And if he does, he probably shouldn't. And so sometimes there is legitimate injuries that are of concern. Sometimes a guy has a bad contract and can't help you on the ice. And in this case, is a goalie, which makes it even worse. So it puts you in a position where you can't afford to play him You can't find anybody dumb enough to trade for him. And therefore, you have to do this. And again, you have to do this with the player and the agent and the Players Association, I presume, agreeing. I don't know too many professional athletes around the, Matt Murray's age that would be willing to say, okay, pay me for the year. I'll take it off. I'll go to the Caribbean and vacation and whatever else, and I'll come back next year. Or maybe this is it. Maybe he won't play anymore. But if he wants to play again, this is a pretty tough mountain he is, set for himself here.
Well, $4.5 million of hush money is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah,